Billy Jack Haynes, who I did a Great North Wrestling podcast interview with that I posted yesterday on the Hannibal TV's YouTube channel, as well as our iTunes Great North Wrestling podcast. It's also at greatnorthwrestling.podomatic.com. But I did an interview with Billy Jack. He's living with Portland wrestling legend and former WWE competitor Rip Oliver right now, who is doing really bad health-wise. Billy Jack Haynes, who provided the photo that I put up as the screenshot, said that photo was taken January 25th, showing that Rip Oliver has chronic COPD and congestive heart failure, 31%. He's still hanging tough, according to Billy Jack Haynes. But Rip gave this personal statement he wanted me to read on the Hannibal TV. So this is directly Rip Oliver's quote. This is Rip, the Crippler Oliver, former pro wrestler. I want to thank the Cauliflower Alley Club staff and president, B. Brian Blair, with all of my heart for helping me with a $2,500 donation to help me in my time of need while I fight not to go down for the final pinfall. I want to thank Billy Jack for being by my side, and Hannibal TV, all of my fans for caring for me so much. God bless, and so much love to you all for the pro wrestling memories. Sincerely, Rip Oliver. So that's the end of his quote. I'm really sorry to hear that he is suffering. I hope that by some miracle he can pull through. Thank you to the Cauliflower Alley Club for helping him out. He does not have a GoFundMe going, unfortunately, so I don't think there's any way that fans can help him out at this point. But the Hannibal TV is going to be covering the Cauliflower Alley Club reunion 2020. Once again, you can look up all of our footage from last year. Jim Ross was hosting the ceremonies last year. It's going to be Terry Funk this year, so that should be pretty cool. 5% for life says COPD ain't no joke. Revolution 14, is there any way to get a hold of Billy Jack Haynes? He has a Twitter, which I think he has someone that helps him operate it. I don't know if he actually operates it himself, but it is his real Twitter, at BJH Wrestling. Master Joe 3000 says, what's up? What's up to you? Leslie Treatment says, getting old sucks if you make it that far. He wishes Mr. Oliver peace. Now, there's only a little bit of interesting wrestling news as Luke Geddes his respect and love from New Zealand. They did have the NXT versus NXT UK event. I think it was from Houston, Saturday night. Alexander Wolf, this is the first I've heard of his name. I guess he was taken out of the main event tag match due to an injury. Jordan Devlin, who is a former PCW Ultra wrestler, won the NXT Cruiserweight Championship, and I will be covering the PCW Ultra March 27th event featuring Shane Douglas versus the Blood Hunter, managed by Kevin Sullivan in LA. So PCWUltra.com has more information on that. AEW is coming to New Jersey, and they sold over 10,000 tickets in a day for their Dynamite taping in New Jersey. So that's pretty impressive. PJ Black has re-signed with Ring of Honor, so it seems like they're doing a good job of keeping the wrestlers they have on their roster. I guess they have a free show coming up next month that you can still get tickets to even though it's free. So I wish them better luck in 2020, and they have been having. Someone also asked me yesterday who Keith Lee was, if I knew about Keith Lee. I didn't recognize who he was, but I do know who he is now, and he is actually a former PCW Ultra wrestler too, and he is in WWE now. Not sure which brand, but I know who he is. I just haven't seen anything from him in WWE because I'm just not interested. I am interested in UFC though, and UFC had an ESPN taping in Raleigh, however you say it, North Carolina. Maybe if I ever go there, I'll find out. Curtis Blades defeated Junior Dos Santos, the former UFC heavyweight champion, who also beat Brock Lesnar. But Curtis Blades beat him with a second round TKO. So he's the up-and-coming heavyweight star, I guess. I was watching the post-fight interview of Blades just before I did this on UFC's YouTube channel, and it seemed like it wasn't a packed house at all for that event. I was looking at the stands. It was all, you could tell the upper level was pretty much empty, and the hard camera side was not very full at all either. I know they charge a lot for their tickets, and I'm sure ESPN paid them a huge amount for that show. But I thought it would have been a bigger crowd. C Phoenix says, is there any legit heat with Harry Smith and Ted Hart? Haven't asked them about it. Maybe I'll do a Great North Wrestling podcast with Ted Hart soon. I did speak with Ted on the phone last week. He is wrestling in Great North Wrestling Saturday, August the 8th versus the Blood Hunter in Ottawa, Canada. Tickets for that are on sale now at ticketweb.ca. It's going to be Great North Wrestling's 13th anniversary event. More information on that event and our February 29th event featuring Too Cold Scorpio, Haku, and the Barbarian is at thehannibaltv.com. And by the way, I believe I am going to be doing a full in-depth career interview with the Barbarian that weekend. So any questions, suggestions, send them my way. I'm about 45 minutes of editing into the 3-hour Kevin Sullivan interview. It will be at patreon.com/thehannibaltv in full ad-free. Hopefully by mid to late next week. It's a really good interview, very good historical interview. I've got Tony Atlas also coming up for another interview. Lots of ones that I'm working on right now. Brian Rose says Bellator was on tonight. Cris Cyborg. Who won? Did she win? I have not been following Bellator. Maybe I would have known this if the Wrestling Observer put out a Wrestling Observer this week, since I pay for it. But because Dave Meltzer went on the Chris Jericho cruise, he was hanging out with all of his AEW buddies and didn't actually do the newsletter this week. That's why I don't have lots of figures for you guys. What is my opinion of the Fiend Bray Wyatt? Here's something I'll tell you guys about Bray Wyatt. I saw something on Twitter. I'm at Devon Hannibal on Twitter. And The Hannibal TV is also on Twitter at The Hannibal TV. That some kid, I don't know if he was developmentally disabled or not, I believe he was, but he was wearing a Fiend shirt and it got ripped off and he got beat up. And I guess the kid's dad tweeted this to Bray and he's now sending him a new shirt. But this reminded me of, actually, I'll be honest with you, when I was in elementary school and also grade 9, wrestling was not popular. It had been before that, and it was actually cool to wear wrestling shirts. But there was a period of time where I was actually made fun of and did have to defend myself on several occasions for being a wrestling fan. Now, here's the opposite. When I was in grade 11, the cool kids in my high school were wearing wrestling t-shirts, NWO t-shirts, DX t-shirts. And that just shows you that we're now back in the time where like wrestling is not cool anymore for kids and teenagers. You never see like kids at the gym in t-shirts. So that was a sad story. Maybe it brought back some memories of why being a wrestling fan sucks when it's in the down times, because I was definitely made fun of for it. Of course, before I went on to become a great athlete and a great amateur wrestler and get all my size. But yeah, so cool for the Fiend to send the kid a new shirt. The Last of the Mohicans says, I've been watching wrestling for 37 years. I'm 39. Wrestling was my cartoons. Brian Redemption says, nothing but love and peace to all my fellow fans tonight. Wishing you nothing but the best. And one last comment. I haven't seen any AEW Dynamite from the cruise ship, but I did look at the pictures. And I have to say, I'm glad I did not go on that cruise. I'll be honest, I didn't see a female in the audience. I'm sure there was females in the audience, but looking from the pictures, it's all males on that cruise. Not my idea of fun whatsoever, especially somewhere where you're going to be in your bathing suit. You want to have the percentage, not being a sausage party, in my opinion. But the other thing I'll mention is on the Wrestling Observer Radio today, I did listen to it looking for news. And I guess Seth Rollins, who I think is still a babyface, has been whining again to the media about not being over. And the reporter, I believe, I don't remember his name exactly, but it was Saturday afternoon's Wrestling Observer Radio. It wasn't Meltzer, but the reporter mentioned that Chris Jericho on the Chris Jericho cruise, when he came out for the AEW Dynamite, I guess the crowd was all singing his song Judas, and he's supposed to be the top heel of the company. So it's interesting that heels now, even though he's a heel, he's beloved by fans. So he's not really a heel. And then he compared that to, on the other side, you have the baby face Seth Rollins that is not cool at all and whines all the time. And the fans aren't really responding to him. WWE has been losing money on house shows. So I just think that's interesting. He brought up a valid point that the heel is way more cool than the baby face in that case. And it just goes to show you that there is, like, because Jericho is so loved, in my opinion, he's not really a heel. But I'm not taking anything away from him. I'm very impressed with all he's accomplished. And I used to not like DDP, but I'm impressed with all of his accomplishments too. Now that I know more about him, I wasn't the biggest fan of his when he got his push in WCW. I did like him when he originally came to WCW. But I do appreciate all he's done to help wrestlers. Jim Valley, yes, it was Jim Valley. Garrett J. Prick said it was Jim Valley making that comparison, and he's a fairly nice guy. I did post an interview that Jim Valley did at last year's Cauliflower Alley Club with Dory Funk Jr. right here on the Hannibal TV. And someone also says DDP tries too hard to promote himself at his business. Well, that was one of the reasons I wasn't a fan of his. And I think I actually told him that when I met him once at the Iowa Hall of Fame. We were both on a show together that year. It was 2014. And I remember telling him in the back that although I wasn't a fan of him, I enjoyed his first book. And I don't know what he thought of me for that. But Anyways, I'm going to close it up. I'll give one more comment from Colonel Quayle here. Is the Seth Rollins gimmick a rib on Henry Rollins from Black Flag, the punk band? I don't know. The only thing I've seen of Seth Rollins, other than reading about his whining and all these news reports, is when I'm working out in the gym and Raw or the Raw highlight show happens to be on, because they always have Sportsnet on some of the TVs in the gym where I train at. So between sets, if I glance over and see something, that's the most I've seen of him. He doesn't really interest me. As I've said, Brock Lesnar, as far as actually watching matches, I would actually be interested in watching his matches. I also think I'm interested in Goldberg's matches. So yeah, Undertaker's. Those are the three top ones that come to mind. Have a good night, everyone. Have a great Sunday, and God bless you, Rip. I'm praying for you, my man. Fight, keep fighting. I know you're tough.